Imagine spending months in a metal, claustrophobic box like a tank, except this tank is hundreds of meters below the cold and dark waters of the ocean, where the smallest mistake could mean the end in one of the worst possible ways, in the dark depths of the ocean. This video is dedicated to the horrific reality of submarines, and it will tell you 4 different true stories from these machines. Stories that are disturbing and frightening on so many levels that you'll understand why not everyone can be a submariner, and it will make you grateful to be on land. Let's begin. The dark story of U-505. The U-505 is a German U-boat with an outright horrifying story from World War II. From the outset, the U-505 seemed to be followed by misfortune. Launched in 1941, she was plagued by a series of mishaps and unlucky breaks, marking her early career with a string of difficult and often unsuccessful missions. Her 10th mission, however, would etch the U-505 into history in a manner no one could have anticipated. On June 4, 1944, while patrolling the Atlantic, she was spotted and attacked by an Allied hunter-killer group, led by the USS Chatelaine. The U-505 was subjected to a relentless barrage of depth charges, causing significant damage to the submarine and throwing her crew into a state of panic and disarray. Amidst the chaos, the U-505's commander, Captain Peter Zschech, tragically took his own life during the attack, in the control room, in front of all his crew. This was a unique event in the history of submarine warfare. The situation then became even more horrifying because the shot, however, did not result in an immediate death, and the injured commander continued to make noise, potentially compromising the submarine's position, as the noise could have led to the submarine's detection by enemy sonar. To prevent this, in a desperate and drastic measure, crew members used a pillow to muffle the sounds, an action that even shocked the crew's doctor, who protested against it. This quick thinking under horrific circumstances was about the survival of the rest of the crew and the submarine, as any additional noise could reveal their position to the enemy. The drama did not end with the commander's death. The badly damaged U-505 was subsequently captured by the Allies, marking the first time a U.S. Navy vessel had captured an enemy vessel on the high seas since the War of 1812. The capture of the U-505 was a significant intelligence coup for the Allies. Among the items seized were the submarine's Enigma machine and code books, which provided invaluable insights into German naval communications. The U-505 was towed to Bermuda in secrecy, her capture kept hidden from the Germans to prevent them from realizing their codes had been compromised. After the war, the U-505 was moved to the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, where she remains on display to this day. Visitors can explore the submarine, gaining a connection to the harrowing experiences of submariners during World War II. The Mystery of UB65. Next is the mysterious and chilling story of UB65, a German U-boat from World War I, marked by a series of ominous events. UB65 was no ordinary submarine. Tragedy struck even before its maiden voyage when a torpedo unexpectedly exploded, injuring several crew members and claiming the life of the second officer, Lieutenant Richter. However, this was merely the beginning of UB65's eerie tale. Shortly after departing for its missions, a lookout stationed in the conning tower was chilled to the bone when he spotted what he believed to be Lieutenant Richter, the officer killed in the earlier explosion, standing on the deck of the submarine. This sighting was not to be the last. As UB65 ventured through the ocean's depths, more crew members reported encounters with Richter's apparition. It seemed the ghost of the deceased officer had returned, haunting the crew. The persistent hauntings troubled the crew so much that the issue reached the higher echelons of the Imperial Navy. The High Command even decided to bring in a pastor, hoping to exorcise the ghost from UB65 and bring peace to the terrified crew. However, UB65's string of misfortunes was far from over. In its final encounter, an American submarine spotted UB65 off the Irish coast. The American crew prepared to attack, with the U-boat in their sights. But then, something shockingly unexpected occurred. Just as the Americans were about to fire their weapons, UB65 mysteriously exploded on its own, meeting a violent end that seemed almost self-inflicted. In a final, haunting twist, one American officer claimed to witness a figure standing on the deck of UB65 as it began to sink. The silhouette, described as wearing a German officer's overcoat and standing with folded arms, appeared stoic as the submarine descended. Some speculate it was the ghost of Lieutenant Richter, overseeing the last chapter of UB65. The story of UB65 remains one of the most perplexing and eerie true tales in naval history. A submarine haunted by the ghost of a fallen officer, mysterious sightings by the crew, and a sudden, unexplained explosion create a chilling, inexplicable events. The HL Hunley. The HL Hunley submarine etched its name into history during the Civil War on February 17, 1864, achieving something no other submarine had accomplished before. It sank an enemy ship, the USS Housatonic, yet after its successful attack, the Hunley never resurfaced. It was in 1993 when divers located the Hunley resting on the ocean floor near the ship it had sunk. There, they uncovered a haunting scene inside. The bones of the 8 crew members were found, each man stationed at his post, seemingly frozen in time. It appeared as though they hadn't even attempted to save themselves or hadn't realized the danger they faced. The weapon system of the Hunley was both innovative and perilous. Equipped with a torpedo that resembled a large spear affixed to the submarine's front, this device was unlike modern torpedoes. Its proximity to the submarine rendered its use exceedingly dangerous. Upon ramming the Housatonic, the torpedo detonated, causing the ship to sink. However, the blast's magnitude likely incapacitated the crew instantaneously, leaving them unable to react or save themselves. This explains their undisturbed positions as the submarine descended into the ocean's depths. The recovery of the Hunley offered a grim revelation. The crew's own ingenious weapons sealed their fate. Found not far from the Housatonic, the submarine met its end shortly after achieving its mission success, marking the first ever ship kill by a submarine in history. The Kursk. The tragedy of the Russian submarine, K-141 Kursk in August 2000, remains one of the saddest events in naval history. The Kursk, an Oscar II-class Russian nuclear-powered submarine, was among the largest and most technologically advanced of its time. On August 12, 2000, during a significant naval exercise in the Barents Sea, a catastrophic event led to the sinking of the Kursk. The submarine was test-firing a torpedo when an enormous internal explosion occurred, triggered by a faulty practice torpedo. This initial blast ignited a secondary explosion of several combat torpedoes stored in the same compartment. The resulting explosion, equivalent in force to tons of TNT, destroyed the submarine's front sections, instantly sealing the fate of the Kursk and the majority of its crew. After the explosions, subsequent inquiries and the recovery of personal letters revealed that several crew members survived the initial disaster. These survivors, including Captain Lieutenant Dmitry Kolesnikov, found refuge in the 9th compartment, the submarine's rear section, which remained intact but was submerged hundreds of meters beneath the cold, dark waters. Isolated, without power, heating, or any means of communication, and in the freezing depths of the ocean, these men endeavored to stay composed, conserving oxygen and hoping for rescue. In their final hours, these individuals faced the grim realization that their oxygen was running out with no hope of rescue in sight. Kolesnikov, demonstrating leadership and resilience, wrote a note listing the 23 survivors with him and describing their situation. This note, later found, detailed their attempts to conserve air and their acceptance of their fate. Kolesnikov also wrote heartfelt messages to his family, expressing love and a peaceful acceptance of their imminent end. The tragedy was compounded by the Russian government's delayed response and initial refusal of international aid. By the time rescue efforts reached the Kursk, it was tragically too late for the crew. The submarine lay on the ocean floor, a silent tomb for the 118 sailors who perished. The recovery of the Kursk and subsequent investigations exposed the grim realities of the incident, leading to widespread criticism of the Russian Navy's safety standards and its handling of the disaster. The personal letters from the crew, such as those by Kolesnikov, brought tears to their families and people worldwide. The Kursk disaster serves as a profound reminder of the bravery and spirit of its crew, who faced their final moments with dignity and courage. These stories remind us of the enormous sacrifices and the bravery that lurk beneath the waves, forever etching these submarines and their crews into the annals of history.